nge-narcissism, nitshela ukuthi i-narcissism imayelana nalama owenu nama-boyfriend enu nama-partners enu abachithile banibreak inhliziyo. Nitshela ukuthi mesikhuluma nge-narcissism sikhuluma ngalokho. Asikhulumi ngama owenu lawa achithile mesikhuluma nge-narcissism. Mesikhuluma nge-narcissism sikhuluma ngento serious kabi. Asikhulumi ngalama owenu. Ukuze mhlambe nginifundise ngendlela mhlambe enzo understanda ngayo. Allow me ukuthi ngenze i-example with my previous men in my life. We're gonna take it there because I need to teach the kids. We're teaching over here. All right, that's my job. Okay, that's what I'm here for. Take your pens and papers and let me teach you about narcissism because you're getting it all wrong, my love. Okay, as you shake. So, guys, narcissism is serious, gabi. I said allow me ukuthi get the example with my previous men in my life. So I've dated a couple of guys in my life. Not more than 5. How many bodies do you have? Oh, not bodies. What is it called? Oh, what's the word, man? Oh, yes. How many body counts do you have? Not more than 5. But anyway, you get the joke. So, exhibit 1. I'm going to make an example with 2 partners. However, even though I'm going to make an example using 2 partners, I have dated a couple of guys in my life. All right? In order for you to understand this proper, if I'm going to tell you about how many narcissists and narcissism lengi experience emhlabeni wami, hence I'm an advocate when it comes to this topic because I've experienced narcissism hardcore with a narcissist that I encountered in my life. So just to break this down a little bit simpler, right? So that you fully understand, when we talk about narcissism, we are not talking about these boyfriends of yours that have broken your heart because they cheated. When we are talking about narcissism, don't look at narcissist survivors like, just get over it. Life happens and what's not. No, you can't even say that. So, as old as I am, I've been in a couple relationships and I've only experienced narcissism with 1 man. Already, if you're smart enough, that should tell you something. We are not saying all men are narcissists. We're not saying that. When we talk about narcissism, we're not talking about all men. We're talking about that particular person. By the way, when it comes to narcissism, narcissistic people are not only men, it's also women. But pertaining to my story and my experience so that I can teach you proper, for the most part, I've only experienced narcissism with a particular man in my life. And it's only one dude that I experienced narcissism with. Now, allow me to compare the relationship I had with my very first boyfriend. Shout out to him, who is the father of my very first child, right? And then the relationship I had with this narcissist. Remember, my very first boyfriend, I want you to understand the story the way that you need to understand it, because I'm trying to make this explanation of narcissism very simpler for you. First of all, what is a narcissist? A narcissist is basically labantu laba bacabanga ukuthi the world only revolves around them. They think the world only revolves around them. They think ukuthi other humans owe them everything. They think ukuthi angazi in their own world, bathanda attention in their own world. They think ukuthi ba uNkulunkulu. In their own world, they think ba uNkulunkulu. Like, for example, mina wathi lo yabhuti lo narcissist mengibuka wabona nje intombazane ezoba isigcina sakhe. Intombazane ezomenza yena I feel better about himself regarding his image. Ukuthi obviously major nami ujola phela intombi enhle, yabo. Ukuthi kuyabonakala ukuthi ujola nosisi omuhle kodwa kuyena kwalosisi omuhle ajola naye akanandaba naye. It's only for his own benefits. Akanandaba nokuthi uzomthanda, akanandaba nokuthi they're gonna take kunayi lokho ofuna lo sisi lo ukuthi abe isigqila sakhe when it comes to everything pertaining to everything. Even when she does her best, she's never doing enough. It's like literally these people want you to be their machine. Futhi kakhulukazi if you are their partners, they are freaking worse. ngizama ukuthi ngini-understandise lento ibe lula ukuze ngisheshe uyi-understand. Ngizoqhathanisa my very first boyfriend who's my baby daddy. I have a son, a very beautiful son with him. And then this narcissistic guy. I have experienced narcissism with only this guy in my entire life. I did not know narcissism existed up until I met this guy, the second one. So, like I said, I've been into a couple of relationships in my life, a couple of dates, but I have experienced narcissism with only this particular guy. It was a hella experience. And because at that time when I got involved with him, I did not know what I was dealing with, because the conversations of narcissism and awareness were not there. I was just drowning, thinking I'm losing my mind because of this dude, through his narcissistic traits, through his narcissism. So the reason why I bring that to your attention is because I want you to immediately understand, when we talk about narcissism, we are not saying every man who's going to break your heart and he cheats on you is a narcissist. We are not saying that. You need to understand narcissism for what narcissism is. So let me just make a very aggressive example with my baby daddy. It was a very beautiful relationship. That was the best relationship. I will give it to him. That was a freaking best relationship of my entire life. Literally, if I think of a great relationship that I had with a man, that one was the best relationship of my lifetime. Imagine, this was my boyfriend, right? This was my boyfriend. With this narcissistic person that I got involved with, it was not only a relationship, it was more than that, but I don't want to say it because I don't want to make it too obvious because of some particular reasons. Pela, they ran to take protection orders. But anyway, the relationship I had with my first boyfriend, who's my baby daddy, that man, that relationship was just that relationship. I could even write a book or a movie about that relationship, because that's how great it was. That's how beautiful it was. That is the kind of relationship, and I'm going to take it there. That is the kind of relationship where if I'm jamming to slow jam, the very first thought goes there, because it's beautiful memories more than ugly memories over there. You get? Whereas with this narcissistic person, hey, hey, uma ngingeza iculo elingithatha lapha ngizotriggerisheka because there is no memory that I want to remember with that relationship with the narcissist. And that is the relationship that I was in the longest. About 17 years. Ask me how long was I in a relationship with my ex-boyfriend. It was only 2.5, I think. And then with the narcissist, because it was more than a relationship, if you get it, just try to get it. It was 17 years in Tagabawa of hell. Why did my very first boyfriend and I break up? He cheated. He cheated. Now, guys, do you know how hurtful it is when you are in your first relationship and it breaks your heart, because all your trust is there and you are still in love and what's not, and then boom, the very first relationship becomes your very first heartbreak, obviously, your heartbreak experience. You already know what I'm talking about and how painful that is. And you already know. You already know. The worst. The very first heartbreak, a man that you thought was your soulmate cheats on you. That ish is close to a heart attack. That ish breaks you. That's how that relationship broke me. The very first one that I'm discussing with my very first boyfriend. But even though it did that, this is the part that I want you to understand. Even though he cheated and it broke me, I'm not going to come here and say he was being a narcissist for cheating. When we talk about narcissism, we're not talking about that, guys. We are not talking about guys that cheated on you and broke your heart. No. Before that man cheated on me and broke my heart, the relationship was the best experience ever. When I tell you the best experience, angijolanga kakhulu in my lifetime because begiphethe kahle. So that is literally a relationship that I'm always going to reference to when it comes to a beautiful experience I had with a man. You get? Because he literally was the best. So what I'm trying to say is, even though he broke my heart, I am not going to come here and say, he was a narcissist, then he broke my heart. No, that is not narcissism. So when you hear narcissistic survivors speak about narcissism, we're not talking about situationships like that. We're not talking about men cheating on us and breaking our hearts. No, we are talking about something totally different. The experience with a narcissist is the worst. Actually, this is what I wanted to say. Reason why I'm using these two examples of my baby daddy and this narcissistic man. Imagine, Jay, I'm calling my very first boyfriend my baby daddy, and I'm calling this narcissistic man a narcissistic demonic man. That's the history right there. He left with me. Buka nje baby daddy ngisakhuluma kamnandi kanjani ngaye. Uyaba? Mase lenja le enye. But anyway, so what I'm trying to say is, if my baby daddy was a single man and he says to me, maybe he's single and he's achieved in life, he's doing well, he's just single, and he comes back to me and says, hey Sneh, if you're single, hey, the mistakes we made at that time when we were high school sweethearts was a mistake, blah blah blah, can we try it out now as adults? I will agree. I will take the offer. I'll give him that grace. I will. This is me trying to tell you, because he was not a narcissist and he treated me like a queen up until he cheated. He was wrong for cheating. But still, I still give him grace. But if that dude who is a narcissist came to me, I can't even answer. I can't even try.